Good morning. Today will be Thursday. Wind's gone around to the south as was forecast, and we should have a nice day. I think it's supposed to go southwest later on. The good news is that mate Matthew has decided to come up on Friday and join me on the boat over the weekend. That'll be fantastic, and once that's over I can then think about heading home. Well, there's not a lot of wind, but let's go for a drift. I managed to sail off the anchor. I always start the engines very quickly if we have to. It's supposed to be southwest 10 going northwest 10 later in the afternoon, and then back to southwest 10. So pretty much ideal conditions. Hardly a cloud in the sky. There's Waiheke Bay, Moturoa Island. We'll be passing between here and Roberton Island. So there is a reef in the middle of this passage to watch out for. And here is the said reef. So not visible above water at high tide. It's Moturoa Island, and Mangahawe is the bay. That's between it and the shore. Progress is temporarily slowed, but we're in the lee of Roberton Island, and there's looking through into Lagoon Bay. There is Mangahawe Bay. A very nice bay, very exposed to swells and wind from north around to southwest. There's the lookout at the top of the hill from Lagoon Bay. He's looking over to Russell and then Tarpeka Point. We came through that gap there between Roberton on the right, Moturua on the left, and there's looking down to Redhead. Ahead we have Moturoa Island and Black Rocks, so we'll ease off and go between the two. Looking up towards Waitangi and Pai here. Russell's round the corner. No cruise ship today. Piercy Island coming into view past Redhead. Bit of white water from the swell. It's actually a very long period and not affecting sailing at all. That's Battleship Rock, heading for the gap, watching the plotter for rocks. I think we might motor through the gap, seeing there's no significant wind and a lot of wave action. Oh, there's a nice beach in there. Stopped there quite a few times. Probably not a good idea when there's this much reflected waves around. Looking up to Doves Bay Marina and the Kiri Inlet. We'll be turning off to the right before then into Te Puna Inlet. Well, there's no significant wind, so we'll carry on motoring. We're going to go around that next point into Te Puna Inlet. This area is called Four Islets, because there are four islets. Over here is the Marsden Cross, where the first Christmas sermon in New Zealand was preached by Samuel Marsden. Interestingly, a forebear on Mum's side was a wheelwright at Samuel Marsden's Waimate North Mission Farm, which is just inland from Kiri. He was a bloke called James Priest who arrived in 1832. Looking back to Black Rocks and Moturoa Island. This island is privately owned. This is the western end. There is a passage through there. A long way that way is Kiri, and you can get up to the stone store at Kiri Inlet, which we've done a number of times. This is Pora Anui Point coming up. Well, from memory, that's the Ruth Passage. Right, the view into Te Puna Inlet is starting to open up. It doesn't look like there's a lot more wind there either. Te Puna Inlet, not looking like a lot of wind. Oh, the wind is starting to come in from the northwest, so we can sail. Decks are starting to get a bit too hot to stand in one place for long. This bay here is called Kaihiki Bay. It certainly looks beautiful. Gentle breeze, no waves, so slow, peaceful upwind sailing. This next bay is called Whare Bay. I believe it used to be called Greater Bay. Over here is Patanui Bay. I'm running a wind angle at the moment. We have a heady apparent wind speed of 6 knots. We're doing 1.8, so we've probably got 5 knots true. Over there is Phantom Bay. Next bay, which is around in there, is Crowley's Bay. There is a settlement up the north or top end of Te Puna Inlet, very shallow up there. And there's another branch that continues up that way. We've been up there a couple of times. It ends up in mangroves and oyster farms. Here's looking back through West Passage. Over here is Crowley's Bay. Wind has been very variable in direction and strength, but as there's no seas to deal with, progress continues. And this bay over here is Napua Bay. Well, these rocks here are called the Hen and Chickens. The beach in the middle is where we stopped and did washing, the very first summer cruise we had, so we call that Washing Bay. This bay in here is actually quite shallow. There are some dwellings ashore, but it's very hard to know exactly what they're used for, and they look expensive though. And obviously planting a vineyard now on the ridge. This is Moturoa Island, and I'm aiming at this stage for the beach that's behind it there. Oh, we have another view into Crowley's Bay, 2 catamarans. We're heading in here. Must be on the same land as the bay on the other side, because it's got the same mysterious constructions and dwellings. Right, well, I've often anchored in this bay, including back with travelling light. Back then it was undeveloped. Got no idea what these wee little pods are for. Never seen any sign of habitation either here or on the other side. We've got about half a metre of water under the keels at low tide, and from memory Stuart and his friend, possibly Alex, had fun playing on this island over here on our first trip in Kathmantooo. Here's the settlement of Titi at the head of Te Puna Inlet. I've been for a swim ashore, walk along the beach. It's actually a fair way ashore. So I swam back starting somewhere up there, so I was side onto the small waves. Although I didn't leave the beach, these look like 3 independent little small bungalows, I presume 1 bedroom. They've actually got grills that come down over all the windows. Seems like a good idea for stormy conditions. So the high tide line's all small broken shell, nice and white, and the pohutukawas at this end are very spectacular, and I'm sure would look fantastic when they're in blossom. We've got a heat shower coming on over here. I've actually got all the hatches open to air out all the lockers, so we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely rain. It hopefully should slip down beside us. And we've certainly got a good cooling breeze now. Looks like we've escaped from rain, hopefully. At 6:30 the wind has turned around to the west at the moment. Still avoided the rain. We've had the lockers open to give them a good airing, so I'll shut them before I forget. So the stern lockers open. So here's got the main diesel tanks and a few other odds and sods.